You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. Is that something that you would be willing to have a discussion about?
Because they didn't get it.
They
were
probably
like,
didn't get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap and I need to start over and all that jazz.
Oh, Lord.
Yep.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we're powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs nationally. And today we've got a fun episode in the making. We're going to be talking about risk. We're going to be talking about reward. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things, real estate, mortgage, life, and all the above, so to speak. But before we get into that, I do want to introduce my co-host, Matthew Stansbury. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys.
Awesome. And then our guest, AJ Reygadas.
How's
AJ,
it going?
What's going on, man?
Yes, thank you for having me.
So this is actually the second time attempting this recording. The first time was an epic episode, and we're not even going to try and remake that. We're just going to fly from the hip. We had some technical difficulties, but
It was so good we have to do it again.
it probably burned up. That's probably what it is.
To
Yes.
run it back.
So this episode, I want to hone in on risk and reward. And I've got some pretty awesome news I want to kind of give to everybody, but
Nice.
we'll do that as we move forward in
Yeah.
this. So AJ, if you can kind of give us who you are, where you came from, your story in a brief
Yeah.
synopsis, so the listeners know what the hell.
Definitely. Born and raised San Antonio. Been in the real estate industry for now a little over 12 years. Started a team about 9 years ago and carried it for about 7 years, and then dropped the team and opened a brokerage in March of 2021 with 3 agents.
Mhm.
And now we're First Choice Realty. We have 67 agents.
That's
So,
awesome, man.
yeah.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. What an accomplishment.
It's been good.
And going through that, and I remember meeting AJ. Both of us were super
Years
wet
ago.
behind the ears.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we didn't have any facial hair.
We dressed professionally
we
all
had
the time.
ties on. We were wearing ties in Chili's, y'all. So
true.
it's just one of those things that you look back and you got to go, wow,
Yeah,
I cannot
man.
believe we're here. And all
Yeah.
that time has passed and it goes by so fast.
Absolutely, man.
But throughout that time, we've taken risks. You've
sure.
taken risks.
For sure.
Matt, you've taken risks. I mean, throughout this process, it's just one of those things that as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a shaker and a mover, you've got to come to terms with it. And
Yeah.
there's some folks out there that may not fully grasp the concept of taking a risk, a calculated risk.
Yeah.
And there's also some folks out there that believe being wild and crazy is taking risks when it's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So as we get into this, I want to just go straight for it. What was one of the biggest risks you've taken in, let's say, the last year? Obviously, maybe
Yeah.
opening up the brokerage.
Yeah, I would say opening up the brokerage and then signing that lease for the brokerage to have an office.
Yeah.
Because that is currently the biggest expense that I have on the P&L. So,
Yeah, I can imagine. And what I guess biting off that big of a nut, as we call it,
Mhm.
what was that like? I mean, man.
Whew, nerve-wracking, man. So the thing about me is I've always been game to make risks.
Mhm.
Like I've, especially when it's only on me.
Yeah.
When I factor everything, key factor everything,
Amen.
and I weigh everything out. If I look at the worst possibility that can happen from this is only going to affect me, then I'm down.
Yeah.
Right. But when I factor in, like, now I got people on payroll, now I got other expenses, now I got other people to worry about, that's where I tend to take a little bit more hesitation
Sure.
and just think things through. Doesn't mean I won't take that risk. I really have to plan it out and think it through to make sure that I'm not going to affect anybody else
Yeah, that
before
makes perfect
affecting
sense.
myself.
That makes sense.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it's. I think each person develops a threshold for the risk.
Yeah.
And that threshold, in my opinion, should grow.
Yeah.
But not because, we're wild and crazy. It's you've got more experience.
Yeah.
You can be more calculated in the risk that you're taking.
Absolutely, man. And like even within the brokerage now, I've created and developed a leadership group.
Okay.
And so in the leadership group, it's compiled of like my top agents, and what I allow them to do is we vote on decisions now.
Very cool.
Good.
that will impact or affect the brokerage. And sure enough, I rely on them a lot. I rely on their point of view, and it's really good to have, some high producing agents sitting at a table with me that we get to hear different opinions. And sometimes these conversations get heated, man.
Yeah.
Thankfully today it didn't. We just had one today.
Yeah.
And thankfully it didn't today, but last week it got a little heated, and that's good. It's all healthy stuff, but it's just, I mean, think about it, man. You got top producers. Everyone's got an ego. Everyone's got a personality. So when you put them all together in one room and everyone's clashing with ideas and no, my idea is better, or this is why we should do this. It's like, it's really healthy in my opinion, but it also helps, I shouldn't say eliminate, but minimizes the mistakes that I might make for a brokerage. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, there is something that I incorporate in our team and what we do as not just me and Matt team, but our entire branch.
Yeah.
And they're called rose and thorn meetings. And what we do is basically you've got to list all the roses, what was good within the month, the thorns, what was bad, and then the buds, what can come out of it. It is it's basically a practice of conflict, but conflict with resolution. Because I'm a firm believer that conflict is not a bad thing unless it goes unresolved.
Yeah.
We actually grow from conflict because we're facing whatever it is that could be an issue or was an issue to correct it. And if you've got people that are bought into your bigger concept, then I don't see any reason why we can't work whatever situation out.
I agree.
With like-minded individuals all working towards the same goal, it doesn't matter how long we stay in this room, but we're not leaving until we figure it out.
Yeah.
Are you game? Yes. Great.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I agree. I like that, man. It's very similar to, I like how you break it down like that, but it's very similar to what I do with the agents. Now, I might hold my producing agents a little bit to a higher standard. So when they come to me with the situation, I have to quickly identify right away, like, okay, is this an emotional issue or is this something that can be resolved? And also, have you already thought about, like, what do you think is the best answer for it before I chip in?
Absolutely.
Because I want to hear their perspective too. And I also want to identify, is this mainly coming from emotional base? Whether it's a decision or it's a feeling or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I agree. And then it's getting them back on the same page of, okay, so what can we take from this though? Like, what's the positive? What's the solution, the potential solution out of this situation?
Right.
So I agree with you on that. Sounds very similar.
And you said something that I absolutely love, and I don't think enough leaders incorporate it, which I fell victim to this for quite some time until I changed my mindset on it, which is essentially, if you've got a problem, don't come to me just to solve it.
Yeah.
Come to me with a solution or multiple solutions so that I can also give my 2 cents or tell you which one is best. But if you're not coming with solutions, you're shortchanging the process.
Yeah.
And what I mean, the process is like us as leaders, we've been through some shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how we're able to provide these solutions, but we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
That we just don't.
Yeah.
And for people to expect us to have all the answers, I think it's a false expectation, because day one, I will tell my folks, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But I need you to use your mind and think. Right.
I agree.
Kind of goes hand in hand with some news later.
And it's crazy because we've had some very high producing leveled agents join us recently over the past few months. And I've noticed the questions are getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
Right. And it's good. It's healthy. In my opinion, it's healthy because it's like, man, I don't like not knowing the answer.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, for sure. I do not like not knowing the answer. And so when they come to me with a question, just this week, man, I've had 2 situations come up that I'm like, damn, I've never dealt with that. Let's see how we can figure this out, And so, in a weird way, I get excited about it. There's that first initial feeling where it's like, oh shit. But then I get excited because now I get to, this is what I enjoy the most, is problem solving, you know? And so now I get to work on a new problem solving type of thing versus something that I've dealt with that's a problem solving issue that I've dealt with multiple times where I already know the answer. But now it's something where it's like you said, you're going to keep you on your toes, where you have to think outside the box and really put some thought into it. How do we figure this situation out and how do we turn it into a solution?
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
And it's a good practice. Now let me ask, do you think that that hunger, that desire to learn, to get in those tough situations, those situations we've never been in before.
Yeah.
Is that something that's innate? Is it something that we acquire? Is it something because folks like you and I used to be running the streets?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, how do you get close to something like that that still gives you that thrill?
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's a productive member of society thrill.
Exactly.
Now?
I like the way you put this wording. That's a nice way to put it. More professional way of putting it. But no, I agree. I do think that there's a correlation there, though, because you know, as you say, as a team leader or as a leader in general, like, you are defined through your experience and the situations you've been through to where you're able to now pour into others. In my opinion, you're able to pour into others. But you also accept those challenges, you know. I will never shy away from a question, even if I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I will figure it out. Thankfully I have a lot of resources. You know, I call, just on one of these situations I had this week, I called a broker friend of mine that I often call at least maybe once a month. And I'm like, hey bro, what do you do in this situation? He's like, ooh, that's a good one. He was like, let me look at how we're problem solving. And he's just like, thank you for sharing this one with me, because I was like, exactly, I've never gone through this. I didn't even know how to handle it.
That's awesome.
But versus someone that calls themselves a leader, that's just like, I don't know, figure it out, you know? And that's not a true leader, man. And unfortunately, I think we see a lot of that today. Of people that don't know how to lead.
That's the difference between a boss and a leader.
Elaborate.
True.
Elaborate on that, Matt. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, you think about it, your boss is the one that you're going to take stuff on. He's leading the group, but whenever it comes down to problem solving, taking things on, he's just going to push it off. Like, y'all take care of it. Keep making me money. Y'all keep doing your thing. Whereas a leader's right there on the front line with you. They're going to take it on, put it on, and just say, hey, all right, let's figure it out together. You know, I'll figure some stuff out. You go do your thing. Let's come back and see what we get.
That's so true. And you know, I'm not saying necessarily that's why, but I don't like being referred to or looked at as the boss.
Wow.
I really don't.
You and me have something in common. And we've never talked about that before.
I shy away from that.
You can ask him, JC, anybody in this office. Do not call me that.
Yeah, bro. I'm your partner.
Mentor. I don't really like friend, because I want you to see me as the friend second, if anything.
Because there might be a time we got to crack the whip, and we're not friends right now in that moment. So.
And I guess, Matt, I wanted to ask, it's a small risk, but it is a risk nonetheless. When you don't know the answer to something, what is your response?
That I'm going to go find out. Give me a little bit. Give me some time. I don't know the answer right now, but I will get it to you.
And that in itself is a risk.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long for people to understand that it's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good question. Before I answer that, let me just be completely sure by checking with my resources.
But there's so many people that will give that answer no matter what, because they want to sound right.
They want that instant,
absolutely. And it's like those types of things can't be sales driven. You've got to be the expert in that. And I guess believe in your value and your resources to say, hey, I don't know the answer, but let me find out from my people, and I will get back to you within X amount of time.
Yeah.
Now you are taking the risk and them saying, no, he doesn't know, I'm going somewhere else. But what I found throughout the years of actually practicing this and coaching others to do the same thing is that people respect you even more.
For sure, man.
It's like, whoa, you're human? Yes, I'm human, and I'm also honest.
Yeah.
And they take that and they go, all right, no big deal. I don't need to go somewhere else because this person's not going to lie to me.
Yeah, exactly. That part right there. Because if you lie and they catch you lying, you just lost.
It's so easy to catch someone in a lie these days. We've got cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Google knows everything.
So overly cautious about that, man. When the agents come to me, like I will not lie. I won't lie. If I don't know it, I'm like, let me figure it out.
Absolutely.
Give me a bit, because your name is tied to that answer.
Line.
And so if you give them the wrong answer, or if you lie, bro, they're not going to trust you no more.
No. Like, and all it takes is one.
They're not going to look at you the same. So
I agree with that. So in taking risks, I mean, risk prone. We were absolutely risk prone.
For sure.
Is it something that we build up to? Is it something that we just go, you know what? We took our first risk. It worked. Or is it something that, because in my opinion, I've lost a lot in life.
Yeah.
I lose every day.
Yeah.
And that's not just something that I say. It's a true thing.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that doesn't stop taking shots.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take it, you've already missed it.
Yeah.
And in that instance, I think I grew into taking bigger risks because I've seen myself overcome the smaller risks and continue to go, and the failures didn't cripple me.
Yeah.
I mean, same concept.
Yeah. I would say so. Here's the thing too, though, man, is as you take, you kind of mentioned, you touched on it, that as you fail on some of these risks that you take, you also build up a tolerance in a way. Now, of course, every risk is different, right?
Yeah.
The measure of the risk is different in every situation. But in my opinion, I feel like I've built up a tolerance to where it's like, I tell myself, well, what's the worst that can happen? If anything, it's going to be a costly mistake, but I'm going to learn from it, and I'll never do that again if I'm wrong, or if I fail at this. But I just feel like we build up a tolerance to, or at least somewhat of a tolerance to where we just, man.
I mean, I think you said it right there, is what's the worst that could happen. And some people don't even have that thought in mind.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you thinking that first means, okay, I'm taking it to the extreme and working backwards.
Yeah.
All right, what's the worst that could happen? We could get sued. We could all of these things.
Yeah.
In order for that to not happen, what do I need to do if I take this risk to avoid that? Yeah. That's how our mindset works. We're already navigating those risks or worst case scenarios so that they don't happen.
Yeah.
Whereas some people don't even think about it and whoo.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. And kudos to those that pull it off. Because sometimes they pull it off. I'm like, dude, he didn't even think that through. But I will say too is, and I'm sure you can relate to this, or y'all can relate to this, is I'm an overthinker.
Mm-hmm.
I overthink and overanalyze everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Doesn't mean I won't take that risk.
Correct.
Just I want to overanalyze everything to make sure that I'm minimizing my risk.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, even in my personal life, I'm an overthinker, and that kind of hurts me. As much as it helps me in business, it hurts me in my personal life, or I should say my love life.
Sure.
Like it's a different factor, because then I have to deal with why are you always overthinking it? And stop overthinking it, and you're overanalyzing too much. And I'm just like, damn it, I don't know how to shut that part off.
And that leads me to, I guess, a bigger concept of a question, which is there such thing as overthinking? If no one else is.
I like to think it was hyperthinking.
There we go. Extreme thinking. Extreme thinking. But really and realistically, there's a lot of folks that will say, hey, you're working too much. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're overthinking. Mm-hmm. Hey, and that, in my opinion, throughout the years, and hearing that and kind of disregarding it or taking it for what it is, I've realized that those people saying that are justifying their situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's one of those, hey, are we giving it more credit than it's due? The thoughts of overthinking. Yeah, or are we just thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is how we think. Correct.
You might be getting that response from someone that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't think it through.
Right. So, I'm sorry, I've got a lot of options to weigh out right now, but I'll get back to you in 5 minutes because this thing has to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I want to spotlight that, and I wanted to make sure that folks out there know that it's okay to think, because if you don't, someone else will be for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you want to be in that position?
Yeah.
And as a leader, as a mentor, is that truly the position you're supposed to be in if you're not thinking?
Yeah. You know, man, I'll refer back to before I signed the lease to this office that I got last December. I was overthinking on this other office that I almost signed on, that I fell in love with. Right. Like it was right off of 281. Like it was huge. I think it's actually about the same size as the one I am signing, but it was a nice presented office where it even had a big training room in the back. Like I was just visualizing everything. Mm-hmm. And when they told me, the price per square foot and the triple net on it, I was just like, man, I don't know if we can pull this off, and I slept on it for a weekend, right? Like I was like, let me think about this. And by the time Monday came around, it got taken. Someone else got that lease. And man, it was one of those situations where the office had been vacant for almost 2 years.
And all of a sudden,
someone else came in and got it. And I'm like,
yep.
So then I stumbled across this opportunity with the office that we got now. And I jumped on it. I was like, no, we're doing it. I'm getting it. And it worked out perfect, man, because I like this office better.
That's
now.
awesome.
Like it's a better setting situation. And for everything that we do with our First Friday events, like it's just better.
That's they say love the one you're with,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that, I guess going back to what you were saying, those of you that are listening that are still shopping for a home, those of you that are listening that are realtors that maybe have never been through the experience of what AJ just depicted, it is possible that a home could be sitting for a year and all of a sudden you're negotiating and somebody else scoops it up. Home buyer, realtor, anybody like that. We are in a market to where 360 million people are candidates for one property.
Yeah.
People are coming from all over the United States, and you never know when they're going to beat you out with cash or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of go home and think about it, sleep on it, all that good stuff, I never steer anybody from doing that.
Yeah.
But I do also let them know that there's been many situations that if you feel like this is the right one, you should probably lock it up.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger.
Sure.
I mean,
what do you got to lose? Maybe a couple $100 in the option period?
That's it.
Jump on it.
That's
you
it.
know? I think a lot of, and let's talk on that a little bit with the agents that have gone into business in the past few years. I think where a lot of those agents mess up too with these situations that we're hearing about the house being on the market for so long. Now it's got a bidding war and now it's got offers. I think those buyers agents are showing their cards. They're not properly trained, you know, because even in our trainings with my agents, I always tell them, like, when your buyer walks through that property and they say, this is the one, let's make an offer, you don't go showing your cards to the listing agent saying, my clients love this one. Right. We're ready to make an offer. Oh, but by the way, do you have any offers? What do you think any listing agent's going to say?
Absolutely. We've got plenty coming in.
I'll run all over that as a listing agent. So, you know, it's little things of just changing your wording by saying, like, look, showed my clients this property. The husband's in love with this one, but his wife is in love with another one, which is totally not true.
Right.
And I'll say, you know, they're torn in between which property to make an offer on. You know, so I'm trying to sell them on this one because I think this is the better house for them.
Yep.
But I need your help, you know, like, what can you tell me about the property? So I'm showing some interest. I'm not saying, hey, this is the one, we're ready to make an offer. I'm showing some interest. Help me make my clients decide that this is the property. Now, if you still tell me you got multiple offers, there's a good chance you do.
That's exactly right.
At that point, there's a good chance you do.
Yeah.
But if I give a listing agent a thought of, hey, you've been on the market for this long, you possibly have an opportunity right now to get an offer for your seller before you get fired, like, help me.
What you
help
just
me
did,
help you.
Yeah. What you just did was you recruited the listing agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
Hey, guess what? You're now playing for my team.
Exactly.
And here's why. We'll both win.
So it's just wording, man. Wording that a lot of agents aren't trained on, unfortunately.
Wording and experience. So I mean, let's shift over to the concept of new agents in this business. That in itself is a risk that they may not have thought or foreseen coming to fruition, because I can't say that the bottom fell out, because it didn't. Our values are still doing what they're doing. Yeah. But you've got interest rates that are up pretty high. Inflation is up high, which they mirror each other.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? Because you've been in the business, I've been in the business, Matt's been in the business. We can't really put ourselves in their shoes.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that I've hired new to the business loan officers.
Yeah.
And I can talk from that angle.
Yeah.
But new to the business realtors, what the heck do you think they're thinking right now?
It's definitely a different mindset, man. So it's definitely different. Not only is the factor that it's a different mindset, but it's also a younger generation of agents getting in the business, where not only am I having to shift their focus, but also kind of help them in a way, oh my God.
Kind of grasp reality?
Grasp with reality, but mature.
There you go.
I need them to mature, because everyone's in panic mode as a new agent,
right?
You know, and honestly, man, like I actually haven't talked about this yet, but I'm starting to restructure my business to where I am going to be stepping back into production this coming year. Because I've been out of it for the past year and a half since starting the brokerage.
Sure.
I've done a couple of deals here and there. But that hasn't been my focus. And now with everything that's going on, I see an opportunity, you know, and this is what we're used to, this kind of market that we're coming into, to where all these agents in the past 5 years, they're kind of hitting the panic button, where I'm kind of coming in like, here we go. This is
Let me show
is
you
my
how
ball
it's
game.
This is the fun
Like,
stuff. This
yeah,
is where
this
we
is-
actually sell.
Yeah.
This is my ball game, and so I am going to be focusing more on production myself this coming year, or going into the new year. So what I would say though is it all starts with like you don't hear no negative talk in our office. So it starts from the top.
Yeah.
It starts from the top and works its way down. Even in leadership, when I had the leadership meeting this morning, I always tell them we need to keep a positive mindset. Right? We've all slowed down. We see it, but we keep a positive mindset because these new agents seeing the top producers slow down and freaking out, it's only going to spread.
You're right.
And so we have to keep a positive mindset. And for the most part, we have. There's been one or two instances where I've heard an agent in the office, talking negatively, and I'm like, no, we don't have that here. Like, there's no
That's
talk
awesome.
like that
and,
here.
and you have to nip
Yeah.
that in the bud.
Yeah.
There's a concept that I use, and it's bitch up, never
Yeah.
bitch down
Yeah.
or sideways.
Exactly.
And if you feel like you need to, then there's a bigger problem there.
Yeah,
Because then you're not looking for solutions. You're just
Exactly.
bitching.
exactly.
Really.
But man, I mean, here's the thing. All you got to do is just work.
It's true.
That's all you got to do, man. That's been I would say that's been the most frustrating thing that I've
Mhm.
dealt with. When talking to the agents is, everyone's like, oh, well, it's slowed down. The rates are high. And I'm just like, fuck that. You just got to work.
It's true.
Man. Like,
It's
you
true.
just got to earn your commission now these days.
Yeah.
Past couple years, we haven't been earning it.
You're
It's
not wrong.
been
It's been
falling
falling
on
on
our
your
lap.
lap.
It's been
Yeah.
falling on our lap. Now we gotta actually work.
Yeah.
Get
Pick up the
out there.
phone and create
Yeah.
opportunities. Yeah.
Make phone calls. Get in front of people.
And
Like,
Matt, if you could give us from your angle, because kind of like you were saying, AJ, I've stepped back from production for the most part to get going what we've got going.
Yeah.
And it's going to kick off even more so when we announce our newest plan and all the good stuff moving forward. But what, Matt, are you seeing? Because I see it from a bird's eye view, but I'm not in the thick of things with you. What are you seeing in this market right now? I know that we recruit quite a few newer to the business agents to help them at least get their business going.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
I would say that the biggest thing I see now is I'm having to go back and now actually sell. Whereas before, like AJ said, it's things fall in your lap. We had so much production going through the pipeline that's like, I don't even have time to make a call to somebody to
Yeah.
recruit. You're like, I got plenty of business coming through. Now it's more so it slowed down. It reminded me of when I became a loan officer. I had to make those initial warm and fuzzy calls, create relationships. I had to create opportunities by calling listing agents, buyer agents, like, hey, what y'all got going on? Let's shake some things up. I can do this for you, and create that opportunity, or call a buyer and just say like, hey, were you looking at this property? Just kind of touching people throughout the process. Whereas, last year it was like, man, things were just hang on to your seats. Let's go, guys.
Yeah.
Like, we're just throwing stuff into the pipeline. Contracts are coming in. And now it's like, all right, I got a low moment. I'm like, take a time to think about things and actually go and produce. Like, now I can make calls. This is where I shine. I make calls, make some money. Let's go.
That's
Yeah.
so true. And I want to give you a moment to talk about a risk that I know you took in joining us back in the day. And what sparked that is you mentioned you're having to make calls. Now, mind you, we've got relationships built, so they're not cold calls.
Right.
But the cold call that you made one day and the agent that picked up the phone and said what he said that led you to me. What was that like?
Yeah, I wanna hear this.
So
Let's go throwback.
So company that I was with prior to, they were making a transition, and I just saw that a lot of their views was going the opposite. It was like, all right, man, y'all are like in the old times. I'm trying to get with social media, trying to market, put myself out there, and they would just shut it down. I'm like, man, this is where we're headed, guys. Y'all need to jump on this bandwagon, or y'all gonna get left behind. And with this transition, I started reaching out to realtors, kind of giving them the heads up, like, hey guys, this is coming. Just wanted to give you a heads up. And it led me to Marcus Laffey, which is actually really good partners with Mark. I had no idea. All I saw was like, I'd done a deal with this guy. He produces. I'm going to hit him up all the time, show him I'm available.
Yeah.
I'm always there to talk to him. I called him on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, Marcus, what are you doing? He's like, Matt, you're calling me again? I'm like, yeah, man, it's me. Let's go. What's happening? Anything new? And he's like, man, and it got to the point where we built a friendship, but he honestly, I think with his years of experience, just kind of like saw the ambition I had, and he took that moment and said, hey, Matt, I see what you're about. You've showed me all these great things. You told me where your head's at, where you want to go. I think you need to have a conversation with a broker, or not a broker, but a branch manager out at Academy. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I'll always sit down with somebody, hear them out. And he's like, okay, I'll set it up. And sure enough, he set up the meeting for me and Mark. And Mark's out in, I think, Cabo or somewhere. And I just get all these texts through Facebook. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy has all of this stuff. And I started looking at him. I'm like, man, this is the things that I want to do. And he already has them implemented. So I was doing my research and looking things up. And I'm like, all right, come into our meeting. And Mark asked, like, hey, where are you at in production? I told him where I'm at. And he was like, all right, well, you're honest. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, what are we talking about?
Oh, you pulled his numbers?
Yeah. And he's like, you're honest. And, we started chatting, whatever. And, we got an appetizer. Then we got food and started eating, hitting it off. And Mark just sat down. He told me, after I asked you your numbers, typically is when I'll wrap up a meeting and let somebody know, like, hey, we'll look into it. But he said, that's why we got to the main course. And he's like, I wanted to get to know you and know what you're about. And I think that you would fit in with what I'm trying to build.
Nice.
And at that point, I'm like, give me the papers, man. I need to go. I'm sold. I'm like, you had me at hello. No.
Yeah.
But it definitely changed my direction, and I felt like he implemented so many things that I was trying to bring into the like I mentioned. But it just goes to show that I took that risk on him, and it actually slingshot me. Fast forward like what I had in my timeline, like 5 years. I'm like, whoa, man, like this is happening, and it's happening so rapidly, and it was just roll with the punches. And I think it was one of the best risks that I have taken in my career as a mortgage loan officer.
And that was awesome for you to identify that in the conversation or even after the fact, instead of thinking you're making this call to get a lead, from this agent, like it's, oh no, there's a potential opportunity for me out of this too. Like,
and I agree with that.
That's important.
As a mentor, I saw that too, in the sense that others making those similar calls, because it happens every single day, they've got one mission on their mind, which is, I need to get business from this agent. Get business from this agent. So you saw an opportunity that, okay, I can still get business. I can still make these calls, but let me see what this is about. Why? Because it could be an opportunity there.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for that. And fast forward 3.5, almost 4 years later.
Oh man, we're already at
4.5 years?
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Time flies when you're having a good time.
Exactly, man. Love what we do.
So it's funny you say this, man, because this is exactly what we were training on this week in the office with the agents, was when we're making those calls to sellers, potential sellers, don't just get shot down right away when they say, oh, I'm not looking to sell my house. That's okay. At some point, you are going to be looking to sell your house.
Absolutely.
Even if you say, hey, AJ, I'm not looking to sell till next summer. That's okay, but let me get in the door now. I'm not going to show up with the listing agreement, try to get you to sign any paperwork. Let me get in the door now. Let me add some value and prep you and give you some pointers on how to get your home ready so that when next summer comes, you're not scrambling at the last minute. But oftentimes I find where I save sellers thousands of dollars from not doing things to their home that they thought they had to do. So I'm leading with value, getting my foot in the door, and now it's up to me every month to just follow up. Hey, how's that paint coming along in the living room? How's that update in the kitchen that you were talking about? Now, that's why I tell the agents too, whenever I rarely go now, but whenever I go on a listing appointment, the agent's like, can I come with you? I'm like, you can come, but it's not a traditional listing appointment.
Right.
I already got it. Like,
correct.
I'm just going to get them to sign the paperwork or to... Usually in most cases, it's, hey, AJ, can you come by and check out the house? We're ready to list, and we just wanted to see if you can come take a look at it before you schedule the photographer. That's most of my conversations with sellers. That's how it's been.
You created the value up front. So now they're like entrusting you.
Yes.
So here going forward, it's like, all right, do your due diligence, just follow up with them. And then at the end of the day, when it's ready, you capitalize and they're ready to go.
Yeah, you're not competing against anybody at that point.
Absolutely. So, and I think that's newer to the business, newer to our business, don't take the value that we preach about seriously up front.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out a way to get the deal done or get them to sign or this and that before they've even shown them any value.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I relate it to lead generation these days. Yeah. You've got people that are doing these ads and Facebook and things of that nature with the pretty picture, and they click on it and immediately ask for your name, phone number, email. Well, where's the value? I'm not going to put my information in if I don't. Where's the value?
Yep.
So I relate that same thing to what we are doing in our tasks and our everyday lives in this market.
Yeah.
In this market, what would you think are a couple of things that would be big value adds for anybody?
Man, there's just some simple ones for now are we talking about for agents or for
agents and in general? Because I just have a feeling that in markets like this, we've got to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
For the most part, while adding the new stuff in to make your systems better, to make your process better.
For sure.
But it's hard to wave shiny objects if you don't know what the basics are.
Yeah. Farming, man.
Yeah.
Farming is crucial. There's not enough agents doing farming because we haven't had to, you know, and so farming and think about it this way, the tax bill is going to be coming out soon. And so what's going to happen? Everyone's taxes is going up on their property. They're going to have a payment shock and everyone's going to be freaking out. So why not be doing follow-ups with these sellers or potential sellers and say, hey, let me just offer you a free CMA just to show you what your home is worth. Keep it in mind and keep it in consideration. Just those simple conversations that we used to do back in the day that we haven't had to pull out of the treasure chest for many years that now we are going to have to. And the quicker that agents can realize that and recognize that, the better off they'll be. The ones that take forever because they think that just making a post every day on social media is going to cut it. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's not.
That's so true.
And some of the newer agents that I work with, they ask me like, Matt, you know, do you got any leads? Do this? And I'm like, what have you been doing? I see you do posts. Are you getting anything off it? Some of them do, some don't. But then I ask them, how many calls have you made today?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you know, well, I've been working on my posts, doing this. And I'm like, how many doors have you knocked on today?
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, you need to go back to the basics. I'm pretty sure if you knocked on 100 people's door, you'd get one.
Right.
I'm like, the odds are in your favor.
True. It's so true.
And it goes back to a point that I have mentioned on here before, but there's no reason not to. You can put social media, tons of it, content, but if you've got nothing behind it, the actual boots on the ground, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah.
And I use Stephanie Paxton as an example. That lady is relentless on the phone. She does not give a shit who she's calling. She's calling you, and she's going to convert you.
Yeah.
And we're not talking recruiting. It's she's looking for business. She's looking for opportunity because she's the expert.
Yep.
She'll pick up the phone and call somebody out of a phone book and find out opportunity.
I'm willing to bet she's the best cold caller in San Antonio for the real estate industry, man. I've chatted with Robert many times about it, and he'll tell me, man, she starts at 7 a.m., 7:30. And I'm like, but we can't call till 8. He's like, she apologizes.
Yep.
Like she wants to be the first one to call.
Yeah.
And man, he goes, she doesn't stop her calls for the day until she gets like, I forgot how many no's. Like she treats it like a game.
She sure does.
And it's like this is what separates and defines a top producer though, compared to the average agent or the agent that's great on social media is she turns it into a game where that agent, as soon as they get the first no, they freeze.
Yeah.
And they stop. Yeah. This ain't for me. I'm going to go back to social media.
Yep.
Where her, I mean, that's why she's selling and she's a luxury agent and she's selling these big listings because she's doing the hard work.
That's true.
She's out there.
And I go back to the risk and reward thing. Some may see making those calls a risk.
Yeah.
I see not making those calls a risk.
Yeah, I agree.
Does that make sense? It's like a reverse risk. If you don't do it, you should. I was watching, what was it the other day? And they said, if you think that the tab for taking that risk is large, wait until you get the tab for not taking it. Risk. And it's like, whoa, that's a concept there because you'll never know.
It's true.
And if you want to live with regret, if you want to live with coulda, woulda, shoulda, then you probably shoulda.
Yeah.
Or should now.
I'll say this too to a lot of real estate agents and loan officers is it's more crucial right now than ever who you're surrounding yourself with. Because if you're surrounding yourself with other real estate industry people that have the same mindset as you, all of y'all are going to fail.
That's so true.
And that's why we're going to see such a big, I should say influx, a fall off, not influx, but fall off of loan officers and especially realtors. Man, I mean, I haven't looked at any graphs or anything, but if I had to guess, I would say by the end of the first quarter, with the way things are going, close to 40, maybe 40% of a fallout of real estate agents.
I agree. And the same thing's going to happen with the lending world.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do double, triple the production you guys do to make the same kind of money. So I'm foreseeing that happening as well. Yeah. Our margins are shrinking. You've got leaders in our industry that are some doing the right things with the money, some not.
Yeah.
Some becoming illiquid and some leveraging too much or not leveraging enough. And that's where you're seeing large differences in interest rates. You're seeing some situations where you can't even price in a loan without charging the borrower 3-4 points.
Yeah.
Well, that's not right. So
Yeah.
something on the back end needs to be fixed to make that proper.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think now would be a good time to mention the next biggest risk that I'm taking as a leader and as a mentor to 24 total employees. I'm thrilled to say that we are departing from Directions Home Loan, and it's a bittersweet. I appreciate the last 3 years that I've had with the company, but with this market, the way things are going and the plans that I have for a national presence, we will be launching my own DBA, which is going to be iTHINK Mortgage.
Nice, man.
And
I
we're
think
on board.
mortgage. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I like that.
We kicked around a lot of names, and at the end of the day, when you've got people that are out there thinking about buying a home, thinking about refinancing a home, thinking about anything to do with your home as a money driver, well, in all those case scenarios, I think mortgage.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nice.
So I'm
Congrats,
excited.
man.
Thank you. And I'm excited about the next chapter.
Yeah.
To be able to take everything that I've learned to this point, 11 years in the business, started other businesses off of that, insurance, online, lead generation, education, all of these things nationally, that now it's time to incorporate them because the market is asking for it. And there's plenty of people that are not there yet, unfortunately. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I wish them the best. And I'm talking about everybody that is not there yet.
Yeah.
Wish you the best, but just know that we're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And have been for a little while. What is the saying? Drink from the cup, drink from my chalice.
Is that Jesus?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man.
But it's a risk that I believe some may see that don't know me as whoa, and some will go makes perfect sense.
You know, man, I'm glad that you went with it though, because that was my big risk too with First Choice. You know, I think I relied a little too much in the beginning. Before I made the decision, I relied a little too much on the feedback I was getting with my thoughts, of sharing my thoughts with people. And I had like 50-50. I have 50 people, I have 50% saying, I don't know. I don't think this is a good idea. Not this time, not with what's going on. And then I had the others that are like, oh yeah, you were meant for this. Like if there's anyone that can do it, it's you. And, and I took that risk and I did it, and thankfully it's been good. And it's, that's
Paid
the
off.
continuous, that we're just growing and growing. So that's good, man. Cause I could only imagine you probably had some doubters, or maybe not doubters, but just people that are saying, are you sure you want to do this?
And I think that's a good conversation, because me at the point in my progression of being a leader, with the mindset of a producer, making sure that everybody is taken care of. It's not just my decision.
Yeah.
I have a great group, including Matt. I've got my operations manager, Jackie, who were involved in this from the get-go.
Yeah.
That I wanted to make sure that I know I only think one way and I do my best to overthink things, but it's still different perspectives that I need to have.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to anybody else's other than my wife's. I mean, I will be honest. She's got great perspective and usually sees things different than I do.
Yeah.
That's why it works. But I feel like it was the perfect opportunity to capitalize on something that not everybody is afforded.
Yeah.
In this
sure.
business.
For sure.
So that being said, I mean, the risks aren't necessarily risks at this point.
Yeah.
They are risks to others, but we use the word risks when that's just doing what we do when it's supposed to be done.
That's true.
Is that
makes
too
sense.
much to say?
No, that's true though. The way you
and I'm
say
just
that.
thinking about this right now.
That's
I mean,
true.
is that too much to say?
That's true. I agree with that.
Because with yours, it was a risk, but it was also the next step in your progression.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
And there's a lot of folks that maybe have been presented that opportunity because their level of production, maybe because of their clout in the industry, things of that nature, and don't capitalize on it. Yeah. But for you, it was innate. This is where I'm going. I'm going to continue to move the needle forward.
Yep.
And this is what it looks like in moving forward.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
For sure.
So Let's see here. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk a little bit more about the industry right now, because you know, I truly am concerned, you know, for a lot of agents, because I don't think a lot of agents, either they don't grasp what's going on, or they have an idea of what's going on. I'll think about it this way, man. Like when I got into business in 2010, you know, I heard about the recession, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know what it was going to feel like. I just knew I was excited to get in real estate. Right. You know, and even till this day right now, you got agents that are, you know, that I'm friends with on social media that are saying like, oh, I just passed my exam. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're walking into.
hey, but if that's all they know, man, they're ahead of the curve.
So
it's like, this is all I know.
So you're right.
It's true.
That could be a good thing, right? Because they're not experiencing, they haven't had that taste in the past couple of years of what's happened. So that could be a good thing. But we also got to make sure and identify, I think too, like how to best prepare them. You know, here's where I say too, man, like when I'm on average, I'm meeting with about 3 to 4 agents a week and sitting down with about the brokerage, joining the brokerage. And I always tell them it's the same thing that I say to sellers in a listing appointment when they tell me they're interviewing other agents. I say, good, I encourage that, right? When an agent says, you know, I'm interviewing other brokerages, or I'll even tell them, I recommend to go talk. If you're saying I'm the first one, go talk to other brokerages, at least 3 or 4, because the most common mistake I see a real estate agent make is they just go with the first brokerage they meet with. Right. You know, same as a seller. They tend to go with the first agent that they meet with, you know, and it oftentimes ends up being a mistake. And so exhaust your efforts. And I'll never say, oh, we're the best out there, which I know we're not, you know, but I'll never say that, you know, I'll never lie. I'll tell them like every brokerage has their niche. Go find out what that niche is and see which one best fits with what your goals are. Right. You know, but then I do add in a little something at the end where I'll say, and then once you have interviewed them,
come back.
And you do come back to us, at least I know you felt 100% confident in that decision. You know?
And that's confidence in what you provide as value, to be able to do that. Some people shy away from it. Yeah. Some people will not encourage them to go and do that because
they
they're
want
scared.
Sign right here, sign right here. Don't go until you sign.
So that being said, I mean, since we're having the market that we're having, do you foresee something happening kind of like what took place before the last wave, and I'm going to call the wave of agents probably around, let's say 2010 to 2012-ish, 2013-ish? Yeah. Prior to that, there weren't anybody new getting into business.
No, there wasn't, man.
Because we had a big old gap of, man, everybody's a bunch of old dogs in this. I've been in the business 20 years.
Bro.
Right?
So when I got in 2010, I think the average age realtor was 52.
Okay.
So I think I was the youngest one in the office, which I was 27 at the time.
So think about that gap.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was about, in San Antonio, the Board of Realtors, it was 4,500 licensed real estate agents.
Makes sense.
At that time. Now, over 17,000.
17, 18,000.
And then I have, I believe, 5 agents that are under 23, you know, and so, there's a lot of younger agents getting in the business, which can be a good thing.
I agree.
You know, it can be a good thing.
But what I'm thinking is, because we're not going to see the market get better in regards to interest rates for at least, I don't know. If I knew a year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. But we've got to get inflation under control. I'm an advocate for it. I don't want to see the little man be totally left behind because of this. Are we going to see a big gap again? Because you're going to have the newer agents that just joined in the last 2-3 years, that are either going to make it, but very few are actually going to make it. So there are going to be a lot that fall out. The 17,000 be cut in half by 40%. Who knows? And then until there's another craze, or until, because I'll be honest, social media made selling houses cool as shit.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
You don't see no one talking about the 20 offers anymore.
No.
The 20 offers.
So therefore, it's like, okay, are we going to see another age generation gap in that profession until the next one comes?
I do think it's possible. But then again, man, I don't know, because a lot of the younger generation are living with their parents right now. And so a lot of them don't have bills. Yeah. You know, and so true. There's a lot of young agents that I have that I'm checking on them and I'm like, so what do your expenses look like? And they're like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm living with family. And I'm like, all right, cool.
It drives me insane, man.
And one of them's like, I want to go buy a car. I'm like, don't do it. Like, don't get it. Like, just be good right now. Like, just chill and just work. You know, don't do it. So really depends on the spending habits of a lot of agents. new or seasoned, I think that there's going to be.
So you're saying the concept, like when I got in the car business, what was it, 12 years ago, something like that. In my interview, Gino Jamali, shout out, said, "Hey, what's your expenses?" This is in an interview.
Yeah.
I said, I just bought a house. I've got a car payment and I've got one credit card. I'm planning on getting married, but that's all the debt I have. He said, Papa, you need to go buy more things.
What? So wait, you came from the car business too?
I was in the car business.
No shit. What'd you do?
I was I sold cars for about 2 weeks, and they called me over the loudspeaker. I had come from Chase as a licensed banker, business banker.
Same.
I wanted to make $100,000 or more, and I jumped in. 2 weeks later, they called me back, sat me down, said, "We just lost our finance manager. You come from finance, you keep giving people their payments. Do you want to jump in the saddle?"
Crazy.
And I said, "Well, I don't know what it all means, but let me call my wife." They said, wait. You're not gonna call your wife. Do you want to do it or not? Like you're about to go from 100 to 200 grand. Okay, I guess I'll do it.
So it's funny. I came from Chase. And then from Chase, I went and I was a credit analyst for a subprime auto finance company.
Really?
So we did loans. We did the 30% interest rates. That's why the 7% stuff is kind of
chump change.
Yeah, we did 30% interest rates on subprime. For vehicles that were 8 years old, had 100,000 miles. Yep. But because it was a Cadillac or a Mercedes, people were buying them, and
Santander
we were doing loans for Drive Time, Ugly Duckling, all of them, man. So yeah.
Wow.
And then I got into real estate.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And I was with Chase.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
But I don't even know where the hell I was going with that. That's pretty good, though.
But yeah, so again, man, I think that a lot of people just need to be careful with their spending habits. So I'll even share with you and be honest, man. Our leadership meeting this morning, bro, we were getting ready to roll out and announce that we're going to do a gala next month. First Choice was going to do the first annual gala, and we were going all out, man. And then started looking at expenses for it, and I was just like, dude, this is a lot of money.
Right.
A lot of money that I don't want to bank on.
And yes, it's cool. Yes, it may bring some clout, but will it bring business?
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Thank God for the agents that were in my leadership meeting this morning, because that's exactly what they said was, yeah, this is cool and all, but AJ, like, we already have this thing going for First Choice. We don't need this event. Right. We're going to do it just for our agent, just for our brokerage. Sure. We were going to open it and make it a big event. And so they're like, let's just do something small just for our brokerage. And then we'll start in March next year for planning out for a big gala. There you go. For the end of the year. And I'm like, this is why I have you all. Because I was ready to go.
Here's a thought, and maybe you've already thought of it, maybe not.
Yeah.
But calling a meeting with your group and saying, hey, look, out of every transaction, we're going to bank up X amount for this gala.
Yeah.
And that means that it's not my gala. It's y'all's gala. Yeah. You invite who you want, but we're all contributing towards this. That way you're not at the beck and call of anybody contributing. This is our event.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
I like that.
I'm a proponent in not asking for others' help in paying for stuff simply because I want it to be my say.
Same.
If you're going to pay some of it, that means that if you say, hey, we need to have this at the front door, we need to do this way, you've got a say in it.
That's true.
I'm like,
that's
nah,
true.
I'm going to throw what our vision's going to be. And if we need help, then we won't do it or whatever the case. But I think that is changing. I think that whole world is changing as far as value and what the money versus the value provides.
Yeah.
Because for me, I coach these guys to provide value, not money.
Yeah.
Give a realtor a deal. You guys can work on it. You'll learn from the transaction. You'll both make money.
Yeah.
But if you go and pay their tab, what did anybody learn?
Exactly.
I want them to be able to fight over a tab with you. Type situation.
Exactly.
Because you're doing a good job and you're both making money and you're keeping the book of business going because you're both touching the referral partners.
What is it that you're outlining also right there, the relationship, right? You're creating the relationship or you're reestablishing the relationship or you're reinforcing the relationship.
Yeah.
But that's what it always comes down to, regardless of what the market does.
I agree.
Regardless of how our market is good or bad, it's always going to come down to the relationship. If you are focusing on building or reestablishing or reinforcing your relationships with your database, with your sphere, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. You know, you'll be, I don't want to say recession proof, but you're going to be good compared to everyone else. And so, or to majority of others.
Sure.
And so that's why too, you see some people freaking out right now, and you see some people that are like, we'll be good.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. It's because they built relationships.
It's true.
You know, and so that's actually something I talked about this week in the meeting on Monday. And I kind of I've already been known for being like, you know, being upset in our meetings, and I'm trying to work on that. I guess my tone or something.
Woosah.
Yeah, but I told the agents, because everyone was there, or almost everyone, and we're there, and I'm like, look, y'all need to realize right now that everything that we train on every single week is how to reinforce or build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I'm showing y'all, or that we're showing y'all, isn't something made up or something we're reading from a book. It's something that I've done that's worked for me throughout the years.
Right.
It will work for you regardless if you're new or seasoned or not.
I agree.
But if you're not going to do this now, what's going to happen? You're either going to leave the business or you're going to leave to another brokerage. But one thing that I'll tell you that I guarantee you is 3 years from now, whether you're at this brokerage or somewhere else, you're going to say AJ was right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I will say I'm confident about, is that what
Absolutely.
we train on, I'm right about it because it fucking works.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
that's
so-
not being
I love
upset,
it,
brother.
man.
That's passion.
Well, there you go.
You just
Well,
fired me
that's what
up.
I like to refer to as passion. But they're like,
Yeah.
bro, you always sound mad, and I'm just like, I'm not mad.
Because
No.
at the end of the day, that person that is leaving the business, leaving the brokerage, is still the same person.
And
That part
then they
is
say
the-
it wasn't me; it was where I was at.
Okay,
You know,
sure.
so.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I feel you on the like trying to get people, like, you're like, man, just do this. If I can instill this in you,
Yeah,
it'll
dude.
work. I promise. I've been through it all.
Yeah.
I went through the high rates, low rates. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you just want to change them, and you
Yeah.
can't.
You
So that's where
can't.
your
Right,
passion
right.
comes
That,
from.
and I will admit that is the part that I struggle. That I struggle with the most is realizing I can't change their work ethic.
Yeah.
I can't force them to make the call. I can show them, I can teach them, I can train them on what to say, but I can't force them to pick up the phone.
Because I can give them 100 leads and be like, hey, call all these.
Yeah.
And they don't touch it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, if I got that in front of me, I'm like, man, a part of me thinks like, I don't want to do this. And the other part's like, you see your dreams?
Yeah.
Now it's time to go get them.
Yeah.
And that's where the risk comes in, right? If you don't
Yeah.
do it, you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
not
true.
wrong. That's not
That's
wrong
true.
at all.
that's true.
There is, oh goodness, there were two things that I wanted to talk about, and I forgot the first one. You were talking.
Says no leader
Yeah,
ever.
right. Exactly. The leading a horse to water. I use that quite
Mhm.
often, given this situation.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to hold a horse's head down in the water?
No.
It's impossible. Okay. That's the concept. You can lead him to the water. There it
Yeah.
is. But you cannot make them drink
Yeah.
because a horse is too strong in their ways. And that's what I leave that to. Now, this last thing is for realtors out there, for lenders out there. We were talking about recession proof.
Mhm.
And I'm going to give you a recession proof tip that if you listen to this show, you'll go and implement it and you'll be just fine. If you don't, hey, on you.
On you.
Recession proof. So if you look at what happens during a recession, you determine who's actually buying homes during a recession. It's typically talked about that the wealthy are continuing to buy. You've got your A paper. We call them the 700 bullet credit score with 20% down A paper.
Mhm.
Yes, they're going to buy because they can. Despite high rates, you're talking about cash buyers, things of that nature.
Yeah.
But then there's this demographic of people that is totally overlooked every single time. And it is why our business has really never taken a big hit when silly things like this happen, is because we focus on those that need help,
Mhm.
need assistance. Hey,
Mhm.
you got bad credit right now? No problem. Let's put you on a
Mhm.
game plan. Let's get you to where you need to be to get you into a home. And we do a lot of consumer direct. So a lot of that stuff comes in. So all the while we're working on people's credit, we're showing them what they need to do to get themselves in a position to buy. The coolest thing that happens is the moment you tell them they're ready to go, they find a house within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's done. And then they
Yeah.
end up giving you more people than you ever imagined as referrals.
Yep.
Now they might be the same type of demographic because birds of a feather flock together,
True.
but it's also recession proof type people.
Yeah.
You've just got to put in a little bit more work.
Yep.
So realtors out there, if you're not partnering with a lender that knows how to fix credit, that knows how to give real advice on what to do with the credit stuff, I guess, start looking around. I don't know. But in a recession, credit challenged folks, people that have been to other lenders and said no, those people they'll buy a house. It doesn't matter the interest rate because they're used to it. They're used to higher rates. They're used to getting turned down or denied. But in this case, you're showing them how, you're giving them the keys to the kingdom, and you're giving them an ability to grow some wealth for themselves for once in their life most of the time.
Yeah.
And that is, I think it speaks volumes.
For sure.
We've got a lot of agents that on social media, and it's not the masses, but that's what the message goes out there.
Yeah.
I'm a luxury agent.
Mhm.
I only deal with this kind of person and this kind of person. Okay, well then your business is about to run dry.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
For real.
Because if you're not getting your hands dirty in this type of market, then they'll just stay clean.
That's true, man. That's true. It's same to say, like, the quicker that the agent in our industry, or just in general right now nationally, the quicker that the agent can realize that and accept, not just realize, but accept that this is our new normal,
Yes,
the quicker they'll be on their way to be okay.
that's right.
But it's those agents that are just like, well, when is the rate going to go back down? What do you think they're saying to their client?
Yeah.
And
Correct.
so
Good point.
adapt and understand and accept this is our new normal. It's not going away anytime soon. Let's accept that.
And I
right?
think the acceptance piece has a lot to do with educating themselves
Yeah.
on what's actually happening.
Yeah.
A lot of people are seeing stuff on the TV and YouTube and hearing that, so then they go and repeat it
Yeah.
without even doing their
Without
own
research.
actual
Yeah,
research.
and they're shooting
Dude.
themselves in the foot.
Yeah, dude. That's so frustrating.
It's
That's
a
so
time for
frustrating.
them to truly stand out
Yeah.
and be the expert. Don't
Yeah.
say something without saying why.
Yeah. Well, so, and I don't know if I can tie this in and make it make sense, but look at this week alone in general. I'll try to use this week as an example with everyone sharing that little thing with the costume where you put your picture in there. Everyone's sharing that. Did y'all do it?
No,
I didn't
I
do
didn't
it.
do
Okay,
it.
but we saw him.
Okay, but
JC had a badass
You
one.
did it,
Yeah,
JC?
he did.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he
okay.
did.
So everyone's doing that right now, right? They're falling in line to doing this and making it funny. And
Correct.
at some point, it's like, all right,
You gotta
this isn't funny anymore.
Right.
Like, it's not funny anymore, right?
Yes.
But it just goes to show what they see on social media is what they start portraying in a way.
Yep.
How quickly the fire spreads.
Correct.
And so that's why I tell the agents in our brokerage, like, I don't ever want to see you posting a meme making fun of this market, making fun of a buyer, making fun of a seller because the rates have gone up. Like, don't be making fun of people, because like it blows my mind to see stuff like that. But then your next post is, "Oh, are you looking to buy?" Like, you're making
How
fun.
dare
You're
you.
mocking the people that
Yep.
you're trying to help and get business from. But then you're making these funny posts because you think it's funny and you're just going
Right.
to make everybody else laugh. No, you're offending people.
That's
and
exactly
so
right.
It's the same thing for credit repair people. You know,
Yeah.
I see the credit repair people making fun of when someone wants to go to a concert and they spent a couple $100 on a concert instead of fixing their credit. It's like, so you're going to make fun of them, but then you're going to ask them to go
For
and
their business.
subscribe to you
You're
to
not
fix their
wrong.
credit. Like, you know what I mean?
You're
so,
not wrong.
So I'm really big on what you. We're not saying that costume thing was a bad thing. It was funny. It was funny. But I'm trying to
It was
just
funny
relate
the
to
first and the
how-
second time, but
Yeah.
after that, it
how
was like,
fast that
okay,
that fire spreads.
you're a clown. At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah.
come up with your own shit.
Yeah, come up, be unique,
Be
right?
unique.
Be unique. But also just more importantly, be careful what you post, man, because dude, I don't know if you remember back in the day how I was with my social media, dude. I was bad. Like, I was, especially during election season. Oh, dude, I was like posting all my political views, and like I was so arrogant about it.
I
And-
learned pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I learned, and,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget when my coach told me, he's like, dude, you're pissing off 50% of your audience already.
50%. That's exactly right.
And then I had a client one time commented on my post, and he goes, AJ, and I was so arrogant, but he goes, AJ, you should be very careful on posting your political stance, because you may distract, or you may cause someone not want to work with you.
Mhm.
And then I responded right away, and I was just like, if someone chooses to not work with me because they can't separate the qualities I have in being a great realtor versus my personal or political opinion, then I don't want to work with them anyway. And
all the while, you're going, damn.
yeah,
People are
and so
pretty
I'm just
simple,
like,
and they
why
won't.
don't I just cut this shit out, like,
Yeah.
and stop
Yeah.
doing
No
this?
more religion. No
Yeah.
more politics.
That's
Yeah.
You're
and
right.
that's something that my mom instilled. Like, whenever I became an insurance agent, the first thing she's like, "You're not going to talk politics.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to talk about religion. Don't tell anybody anything. None of your beliefs. They don't care."
Yeah.
And I was like, and if they do care, they probably won't work with you if
It's true.
you're in a different stance than they
Yeah.
are.
That's
It
true.
is true. How are we doing on time? Hour? I love it, man. I can feel it. Ooh.
Yeah,
feel it.
nice. Nice.
Well, guys, I mean, this has been a pretty good episode. I would say, each of you, do you want a spotlight to just like say what is on your mind? By all means.
Yeah,
AJ, Matt,
first?
who wants
Go
to go
ahead.
first?
I'll go first.
Go ahead, from the cuff.
So, I just want to share with y'all, I'm really big on positive influence, right? And being a positive influence and instilling that in others and just pushing influence on others in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I think we need to continue to see more of that. We got an election going on next week. And I think a lot of people need to be careful on what they're posting. I get it. Everyone's got their own view on stuff and that's great and all. But at the same time, I think what a lot of people love the most about this country is the freedom of expression, freedom of choice, and freedom of just being able to say what you want to say and let that be your own belief, but don't necessarily push it on others, to where it comes to like just trying to persuade someone into believing something that doesn't necessarily fall in line for them. And so that's what's been heavy in my heart lately, what I've been seeing on social media that I think a lot of people need to work on is just being more cautious, because I think that it's starting to get out of hand again, and I see it, and I think that's very crucial to what we are, not just as a nation, not what we're about, not just as a nation, but what we're teaching others and teaching our children, and so. So yeah, that's really it. Not so much business related or my brokerage, but just more so on that, being a positive influence, and you'll never see me post anything like that. So
that's awesome. Good deal, Matt.
I think from this whole discussion that we have, I would say if you're thinking about taking the risk, do it.
Yeah.
Because the repercussions of not, you'll never know.
Yeah, it'll hurt
You'll never know.
Yeah.
And that'll hurt so much more.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, guys, I will close this out with, we've got a lot of folks out there that are being seen as mentors, that are playing the mentor role. And for each of you out there that are following someone, whether you know them to be risk takers or not, ask them and talk to them about some of the risks that they've actually taken in their lives, and ask them about some of their failures. I think that we talk too much about victories and don't express our failures, so people think that this life is easy.
Yeah.
And I believe it paints a depiction of something that is false, because every person in this room right now has taken risks and has failed from probably more of the risks that they've taken than they've actually succeeded.
Yeah.
So to your point of be careful what you post, putting content out there, I think what it is people have too much damn time on their hands.
Yeah.
So take some of that time, take some of these key factors that we've discussed today, and go out there and take some risks.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like it.
Thank you so much for joining me
Thank you,
today,
Mark.
Yeah,
Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
AJ,
Definitely.
thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Make sure to like, subscribe. I don't say that enough.
That's
Sorry.
what I'm
It's just
guilty
like
of
one
too,
of those
man.
things. But yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend. You never know who's going to need this information, and you could be that person that puts it in front of them. So until the next time, we'll catch you on the next one.
You were talking about money, right?
Separate yourself widely from the pack moving forward. That's something that you would be willing to have a discussion about.
Because they didn't get it. They were
probably
like,
didn't
right.
get it. Yeah.
To follow up with your clients, to generate more leads. You know what I mean?
Always check to make sure you're recording.
The record.
Yeah.
Clap, and I need to start over.